Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and in today's video I am going to share how I made this painting of a wolf howling in the moonlight. So this is the drawing, so have a look at it. For the moon, I used a round object. Let me show you. So I used this little glass container. Of course I have more than one, so I used the other one. This is the one that I keep on my table. I just kept a rose flower inside it and it's dried now. So let me jump to the tutorial. So the medium that I used is Oil Pastels. So I'm starting off my painting with the lightest color that I'm going to be using, which is white. I am using white first because I want certain areas to be white, so I prefer to kind of protect those areas using my white oil pastel, because in case I accidentally paint with another color on them, then I have to go through the trouble of scraping it off. It's kind of hard to remove that color from the areas that I want to be white. So I am done painting my moon. I hope that you can see the white. I think it's visible in the video. Now I am going to paint other areas that I want to keep them white, or at least light in color. So that'll be the surface of water where the shadow of the moon will be falling. It's right in the middle. If you're going to paint this, you don't have to be so precise. You don't need to draw anything. I'm drawing some horizontal lines because it's water, so I want it to look a little realistic. So I'm drawing like small waves, and I wanted some waves at the edge. I don't know how this is going to turn out, but I'm going to try anyway. So I'm adding some white on that as well. And then over here on this huge mountain, I'm adding some white as well, because the moonlight will obviously hit certain parts, and those parts are best to be kept in white. And at last, I'm also adding some white in the background, only at the bottom part, because I want to keep this area light. So I'm painting a little bit of white over here as well, and that's all. So I'm done using the color white for now, and I'm going to be moving on to my next color, which is pink. So this is the lightest pink that I have, and I am adding that in the background. Well, if you're going to try this, you're going to recreate this, you are free to use any color that you like. That's really up to you. This is just my preference. I've never used pink in the background before, so I'm just trying it this time. So I'm using another pink as well. This one is a little darker and brighter compared to the previous one, and I'm adding it on top above the previous pink. Okay, before I move on to the next color, I'm just going to take the light pink and draw it around the moon. I suggest you to get this as smooth as you can, and if you're not able to make it smooth, you can smudge it, you can try smudging it, or you can just use the color white and paint over it. That way it's going to look smooth. It's the moon, and I prefer to keep some light around it. I'm adding more pink, just making some adjustment before I move on to purple. Now I'm adding some purple in the background. So I'm careful not to color around the light area around the moon. So I'm moving on to my next color, which is a dark blue. This is the darkest blue that I have, and I want this to be on the top area of the background, meaning in the sky, the top part of the sky. So I'm trying to blend it, try my best to blend all the colors, that way they will look nice and soft. So I'm going to just do some little touch-ups, like add more pink, smudge a little more here and there and soften a little bit. And I'm also adding some purple, more purple, because I think the background should look darker for me. It's night, guys, so I prefer it to look a little darker than it already is. So I'm just adjusting my colors and blending them all to get the perfect background. Okay, now I'm happy with the background and I'm going to paint my moon right now. Right now the moon looks completely flat, so I'm going to add some light purple on the surface. I'm going to add some shadows on the moon to give it the 3D look. Now I'm adding the darkest color, which is the dark blue, for the shadows. Don't be afraid to use dark colors, it's okay to use them. In case you make mistakes, you can scrape them out because you already paint some white on it. So I'm adjusting a little bit by adding more purple and some white as well, so that they are all blended. Smudging may not be a good idea for this because I don't want the colors to go out of the area. By the way, I left a little bit of white around it because the shadow part should be in the middle, I guess. This is a full moon, which is supposed to look bright at night, so I think the surrounding should look white. So now I'm going to move on to the water. I'm going to paint the waves first. I'm adding a few colors like the pink and light purple. I'm going to be adding all of them, but I'm starting with the light colors first. So I'm adding some dark blue as well. And now I'm moving on to the middle part of the water, where I'm just making some horizontal lines in order to create that wave-like water shape. This is going to be a moving water, not still water, so doing that. Do not paint like all over it. I know it sounds like it's hard because I'm saying that you have to paint it horizontally, but that is the best way. If you paint all over it, you might end up creating water that looks too flat. So I'm going to just create a lot of horizontal lines. I'm going to mix the colors like the dark blue and then some all of the same colors, some pink, some light purple, and also some white. I'm keeping the sides as the darkest because the middle part is supposed to be the reflection of the moon, so I prefer to keep that area white. So I'm happy with the surface of water. Now I'm going to paint this distant hill. I'm just using the dark blue, and I will also use some white and some light purple. The shadow of the hills is supposed to fall on the water as well, so I'm going to make the furthest area of the water a little darker than it already is. And I also feel that the hills are not dark enough for my liking, so I'm going to add some black to them, just a teeny bit of black. And I'm not going to keep just black, I'm going to mix it with the blue and not plain black. And be careful when you use black because too much of it is going to make the painting look dull, so use only a little bit. In this case I'm using at the bottom part because that way it's going to look a little distinct from the surface of water. And now I'm moving on to this rock or this hill where the wolf was standing and howling. So I'm using a bunch of colors. I'm starting with the darkest blue that I have, and I'm also mixing it with some other colors like the light purple, some pink, and some black here and there. Just be careful not to paint all of them at once. Leave some of the areas white so that you get to show the moonlight hitting on the rocky part. Otherwise, it's not gonna look as good. It might look a little fake, a little too flat, like it won't look like a real one. In case you accidentally have painted the whole thing in color, you don't know how to add white now, you take your ruler, scrape off the area you want to be white in color, and then you take your white and paint over that. And when you paint, make sure you press your oil pastel on the surface of the paper, press really hard, and that's how you get maximum amount of color from your pastel, especially when it's white. Obviously you have to press to make it look as white as possible. So I'm also adding some black. I lined some parts with black. This is the closest part to the people who look at the painting, which means it has to be the darkest, it has to stand out the most compared to all of the other areas. It's a little bit hard to add white on certain areas, which I didn't choose to add early on because I have to press like really hard on my paper. But while I did it, so can you. You can do it too. So I'm done with the rock, and now it's the time to paint the most important part of this artwork, which is the wolf, the howling wolf, the lone wolf. I'm going in with my black oil pastel. I'm just starting with the middle because you're going to need precise lining around it, so I'm only using black in the middle. Oil pastels are kind of blunt, they're not suitable for precise details. So for the purpose of precision, I'm switching to a black color pencil. This is a watercolor pencil. You can use anything that you have. It doesn't matter much because we're not going to use any other medium here. So I'm using this and drawing, adding some details, adding some mane, some hair on the wolf and its tail. And I'm done painting the wolf. So for the final touch, I'm adding some stars using my white pastel. I'm using the other end of the white pastel, not the blunt part. So I'm just adding some dots. I'm trying to keep them as small as possible. And I'm done with my painting. So thank you for watching my video, and I hope that this video is helpful to you. And if you like this video, give me a thumbs up, and if you want to support me, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.